Welcome once again to the BetaLife Show, a program that helps you to get health information that will help you live a better life. I'm your host, Dr. Wale Ogunlana, and wherever you're watching us from, whether it's Lagos, Ghana, South Africa, or from other parts of the world, I want to say a very big welcome to you today. So this program is brought to you by Better Care Limited, a platform that revolutionizes doctor and patient relationships. Now, one of the most devastating diagnoses anyone can receive is the diagnosis of cancer. For a disease that allows certain body cells to spread uncontrollably and cause destruction of internal organs is an extremely difficult pill to swallow. More often than not, this comes at the cost of one's mental health. Now, cancer doesn't just affect your body, it affects your mind, and this also can lead to significant changes in your emotional health. Now, finding out that you have cancer can have a big impact on one's feelings. It can affect the person and even their loved ones. And feelings of depression, anxiety, and fear are quite common. Now, as a matter of fact, it's estimated that 1/3 of people who are treated for cancer in hospitals suffer some form of mental health condition. It is also estimated that about 8 to 24% of people living with cancer also suffer from some form of depression. It can also be very difficult to pick up on mental health conditions in cancer because cancer in itself shares symptoms that are associated with mental health conditions, and these are symptoms such as tiredness or fatigue, poor appetite, and poor sleep. And since people that are also living with cancer regularly face threats to life and impending doom, it can be very difficult figuring out what is a regular reaction to a cancer diagnosis and the treatment or sign that one has a mental health condition. In fact, to make things even worse, mental health conditions in cancer have been proven to worsen treatment outcomes and increase the likeliness of death. The truth is, recognizing mental health conditions, especially in cancer, is important. And this is why we are here today. And this is the topic we'll also be discussing today. And that is why I'm delighted that on today's episode, I am joined by Juliet Odumosu and Sola Ogunbiyi. Now, Juliet Odumosu, she is the co-founder of Nguvu Health, and Sola Ogunbiyi is the lead therapist at Nguvu Health. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Good morning, from this time, and it's so good to have you on our show. So we are looking at, the role of, looking at mental health in people that have been diagnosed with cancer. Now, the question that I just want to ask is this. Is it something that is important when we look at it? Is what the topic we are discussing today, that's the mental health, conditions of patients that are suffering from cancer, is it important?
Yes, very much. It is of one of the utmost importance when it comes to the care of people living with cancer. If you go to most oncology departments in our various health institutions, you'll find out that they found a way of infusing mental health care into the co-management of people with living or trying to survive cancer. They call that area psycho-oncology, and it's basically ways to help the person's mindset and improve general resilience, which is the ultimate factor or the goal of therapy in psycho-oncology. Because psychotherapy doesn't attack the metastasized cells, yes, or do any of those surgeries or pills, yes, or anything. So question is, what's a shrink doing in that
yes,
space?
Yes.
Resilience is a very, very important factor in recovery. It's also a very, very important factor in end life management as well. If you pick two subjects and if you can hold their biochemistry constant and you are giving them the same treatment, there might be variation in the level of progress,
yes,
for that treatment is done. It's open that we can hold every other thing in constant.
Yes.
That's what accounts for those differences. Why somebody is responding faster to treatment, you understand, and having a more positive outlook,
yes,
to life generally, you understand, even if that doesn't affect prognosis,
yes,
anyway. It's resilience.
That's one of the things that we get to miss, because the truth is that resilience is such a huge factor, and most often than not, people tend to ignore it because it's more abstract. It tends to be more abstract than, you know, something that is physical, like, you know, drugs.
Yes,
or somebody has, you know, needs to have surgery for something, because mental health is quite abstract. So people don't tend to pick on some of these issues as it is supposed to be. Now, the truth is it easy? Is it easy to recognize mental health conditions in cancer, people that are living with cancer?
Well, Dr. Wale, you did make mention of part of it during the intro.
Yes.
You understand that sometimes the symptoms, or the presentations of cancer itself can mimic some of these things that we use as diagnostic criteria in
Yes.
looking out for certain mental health conditions. You understand, poor appetite, you know, probably not sleeping well. You understand, you know, low mood. You understand, withdrawals. You understand, crying spells and things like that. These are probably things that can come even sometimes with the management, the medications, you understand, or the actual treatment of the cancer itself, like chemo, you understand, and the likes, you understand. And if you look at some of those side effects, you understand, it can also mimic the symptoms of some of these things. So if you look at it from that angle, rather, you would pick, you know, different kind of psychopathologies across board.
All right, so that's fantastic. Let's just go on a very short break. We'll be right back and we'll continue the show. Welcome back. You're still watching the BetaLife show, brought to you by Better Care Limited, a platform that revolutionizes doctor and patient's relationship. And I'm here on the show. We are still discussing the impact of cancer on your mental health. And with me here, you know, dissecting this episode is Sola Ogunbiyi and Juliet Odumosu. We've been talking about, you know, the role of cancer on one's mental health. Now, the next question that I want to ask, and goes to you, Juliet. Do you think, are there treatment options for people who are living with cancer, like for mental health conditions? Are there treatment options for them, for those that have been diagnosed with cancer?
Of course. Thank you very much, Dr. Wale. Of course, the key thing is fighting the willpower to live, which is directly related to the mental health of that patient.
True.
And yes, reorganizing or trying to put your willpower on a very high so that you can fight cancer is very important, and it's directly tied to mental health. And then like we said before, like Sola already mentioned, these symptoms are not exactly existing outside of each other. Depression, anxiety, fear, those are really important when you're talking to a therapist. And of course, there are treatments dealing with the mental health illnesses or challenges that comes with being diagnosed as a cancer patient. It's directly tied to what we do at Nguvu Health. We make access to therapy very affordable and easy. Unlike before, you need to, I know I might be faced with depression. I am feeling very bad with my current health problems, but then I do not know who to talk to. So this is what we've been able to crack, and then through your phones, through your smart devices, right from your houses, you can just download the app and then book a session with a therapist that can help you walk through, you know, what you're currently facing.
Yeah, I think that's actually quite helpful, because a lot of we are not even discussing the stigma that is also associated with seeking, you know, mental health care, you know, with cancer. So I think it makes it easier. I think the option of having to, reach out to anybody from your mobile phone, I think that wipes, the stigma away, so people can actually seek mental health care. It's actually available, I would say, on their, at the footstep,
right in
their
your
doorstep.
pocket.
Sorry, yeah, right in their pocket. Yeah. So now we are talking about this. I wanted to also, look at it from the light of therapy, since you're, you are in that line. Are there specialized, treatment options now in Africa for people who have cancer and are suffering from some form of mental health condition?
Yes, and Dr. Wale, yes, there are, and psychotherapy for people, living with cancer. The approach are different. It could be individualized. Individualized means that it's just you and your therapist, working through,
Yes.
it, and having a general goal for what you want to do with that particular individual, which could be to build resilience, which could be end-time management, it could also be, other issues that would come across depending on what the prognosis is.
Yes.
It could also be group as well, which we're talking about support groups, we're talking about, group sessions with people that are also, going through the same issue.
conditions.
You learn together, you build resilience together, you demystify some of the myths around cancer, death, and it's just like it's raining and there's traffic everywhere.
Yes.
You have to trek because everywhere is so it looks bad, looks like your day is going to be awful, you understand, but the more you stepped out and you started trekking, you understand, and you find other people from different walks of life trekking with you,
Yes.
people making fun, doing Snapchat and everything.
You
It
don't
kind of like
feel so
makes
bad.
it less
Yes.
distressing as it would have been. So yes, group sessions and support groups are very, very important for people living with this kind of mental health condition as well.
Now, the people who, for example, how do we deal with those that are, stigmatized? Cancer in itself is a stigmatizing diagnosis for many
Unfortunately.
people. Yes, so it's unfortunate, but then a lot of people go through that stigma. How do you push through? How do you tell them that this is not the end? Well, how do people actually push through that phase? If I'm to ask, is this something that people find easy, or is this something that they need to break through? Because most times when people are diagnosed, when people are told that they have cancer, they don't tell them that, oh, sorry, and to help you build your resilience, you have to join. Doctors will just, sorry, you have cancer of the thyroid, and sorry, this is the prognosis, and that's it. Many of them, they get lost from that point on. They don't know what else to do. What are your thoughts about that?
Let me chip in before I go to others. Like suicidality and psychosis is also one of the presentations for people that are given such a diagnosis. So somebody receiving that diagnosis is a high risk for suicidal behaviors, an ideation or even action in itself, because it's potentially life ending. So as for the shame that comes with it, I think from one society to another, you understand, it varies.
Yes.
In the Western world, you understand, where health and research into cancer is, so you have many people pioneering, cancer research who are actually victims or survivors, on their own, you understand. But here in this part of the world, it's still, the knowledge is still quite basic and rudimentary.
Yeah.
So we still have to work through those, waters of, discrimination, even when it is not coming from a place of persecution. It's just that people don't want to associate with
it's not my
people.
portion. Many of them always say that
and
it's not my portion.
And those things actually do affect medication adherence, treatment adherence, and having the individual, understand, open up to any form of therapy or even medication. As that you see people dropping off their medication just to pursue religious alternatives or traditional alternatives and stuff, because people would want denial. I don't have this, which is another thing. When people get that diagnosis, they go through the basic 5 stages of grief, you understand, starting with denial. It's not my portion, it's not my portion. And something that was found at stage 1 or probably stage 2, before you now come to the realization that, oh, this thing has really it has gone way past. So those are part of the things that affect prognosis of cancer in this part of the world. Stigmatization itself, which could be internal and external. Understand? Internal, the one that you inflict on yourself, you understand, based on your own negative thoughts, and external, the one that society directly or indirectly, you understand, you know, dish out to you.
Yes.
So the way to mitigate this is insight orientation. You know, we call it psychoeducation, basically. Understand as much about this condition itself as possible. Information or wisdom would eventually set you free. Okay, and you can educate others. Look at it around the world. You understand? You find in football matches, you understand, cancer patients with quite close end of life. You understand? You see them walk up to the stage. You understand? They give talk, they give speech. You understand, and things like that. The idea is to demystify this thing. You understand, and make it less of a taboo, because it could literally happen. Look at the statistics you quoted at the beginning of the show. It is there. You understand? Almost 1 in 10 people, you understand, at the face of the day will develop some form of cancer or the other. And if you live long enough, doctor, you would agree with me, you will develop one kind of cancer.
Yes, true. See, these are just very fantastic insights that we are having. But we'll just go on a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. This is the BetaLife show, brought to you by Beta Care Limited, the platform that is revolutionizing doctor and patient relationship. Today, we are discussing the role of cancer, you know, how it impacts our mental health, the impact of cancer on our mental health. And I've been with Juliet Odumosu and Sola Ogunbiyi. We've been discussing, you know, the impact of cancer on our mental health, and they are both lead therapist and the co-founder from Nguvu Health. So, speaking about Nguvu Health, Nguvu, what does it mean?
Okay, Nguvu means strength in Swahili language, because it's the most spoken language in Africa.
Wow.
And since we're battling, or like we're trying to fight mental health stigmatization in Africa, just went with it. So strengthening your mental health. Wow. Yes, that is what birthed it.
Wow. So thank you, because we understand already from the African context that, you know, there is stigma with relation to mental health in around the globe, Nigeria and Africa generally, continentally. We already know that that's a problem. Yes. So what was this story? There's always something behind, you know, a brand. So what was the story behind Nguvu?
Well, for you to really know the importance of building something, it has to come from a place of, like maybe you felt it, or like you really understand why that why the idea you're pushing is necessary. And for Nguvu Health, okay, the story of a friend back in university, back school days, very cheerful, outgoing, you know, fun guy.
Life of the party.
Exactly, life of the party. But after some time, he just withdrew, and then he became like a shell of himself, or how do they say that?
A shadow. Like a shadow of
exactly,
himself.
A shadow of himself. And then because we are not exactly familiar about the symptoms of depression or or mental health, challenges, we didn't really know. And then we just felt, okay, maybe he wanted to be by himself and all of that. Up until recently, it got so bad because he wasn't able to seek proper help. And then recently we found out he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that's like, if help had gotten to him sooner, it could have been well managed. And then one thing, because Nguvu Health came as a result of, a post-pandemic solution. During the pandemic, it let out the cat from the bag, because there were many things that were hush topic in Africa. We're talking about mental health. I mean, it's until you're visibly mad before people be like, oh, there's something wrong with the person's mental health. Exactly. We don't take it as it is. And mental health does not wear any particular face. You could be very good at work, productive, doing this, doing that, but then you might be battling one or two inner things. So these are things that people would not necessarily talk about, and that is why Nguvu Health is, we are not opening okay, come to the office or tell one or two people that you're going to see therapy. I mean, just through your phone, you access therapy, you schedule a session, and then you talk to somebody that can help you, and not just putting it out there on social media like we're used to, putting it on Twitter, and then the many backlashes, and it even further deteriorates, worsens it worsens your situation, or worsens how you feel at that moment. So why not talk to a licensed therapist? Why not talk to somebody that can guide you out of that that feeling, that that state you're in, and help you to live a better life? And yes, one of the things that we're fighting, or one of the biggest competition Nguvu has, it might not necessarily be another brand in itself. It's the stigma, because it is bigger than Nguvu, it is bigger than myself, what Africa is currently facing. I mean, we should be more open to having these conversations that have been formally termed as taboos. You're
not allowed to speak about it. Aren't you a man? Come on, you're supposed to man up and
like giving you certain expectations. No, that shouldn't be. We should, like I said, have more open conversations. And see it as a norm. Therapy is a lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. There's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist.
Wow, fantastic. Now, just to round off, have you had, any positive outcomes, working with Nguvu? Have you been able to, are there any stories that, here in Nigeria, looking at it from, the African perspective, because we've seen the importance. Now we want to know, are there people who have, gone through this and have come out, better?
Yes, absolutely. Many people, their first interaction therapeutically, psychotherapeutically, came, from platforms such as ours, other existing, pseudo companies that also dabble into digital or teletherapy as well. So many of their contact with therapy were through platforms like ours. And what I found very, very interesting is the kind of information and knowledge that they get to, be exposed to when they come for therapy. Many people get better insight into their condition. Many people get, things that you think that they are big, you understand, they kind of like water it down to, understandable constructs for you, so that you are able to, what is normal and what is not normal. And presentations that have been rationalized before, you understand, that are actually more than what it is, you understand. People have gotten better information and have been encouraged to seek better levels of care, from like psychosis, schizophrenia, hearing voices, you understand. You are, we also have multiple free screens on our platform as well, which also helps people to, you think you have a substance use disorder problem, you think you have anxiety, you think you have PTSD, you understand, you can take screens, you understand, put it into better condition, and you could be advised afterwards of time, saying that you are presented with this, it would be nice for you to take, some form of therapy, you understand, get more assessment done, you understand, and you can have better insight into this. And people don't even know that they have familiar predisposition to certain mental health condition until we'll unpack some of this scenario. This is where it's coming from. Does this mean I am this? Does this mean I am that? No, it doesn't necessarily mean any of those things, and life can still be functional and productive regardless.
That's fantastic. Let's just go on a short break. We'll be right back so that we can round off our conversation on today's episode. Welcome back. You're still watching the BetaLife Show, brought to you by Better Care Limited, a platform that revolutionizes doctor and patient's relationship. And today, we've been discussing the impact of cancer on your mental health. And I've been here with Juliet Odumosu and Sola Ogunbiyi from Nguvu Health. Now, final thoughts. What's our final thoughts? We've talked about everything. What would you like the viewer to take home from today's episode?
Okay, so being diagnosed with cancer is definitely not the end of the world. I mean, we know the likes of Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
No, Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
Yes, we know the likes of people like that. They had cancer, but then towards the end of their life,
yes.
I mean, we saw how many great things he was able to accomplish.
I mean, we are told that he shot Black Panther.
I mean, and that's like
while he was diagnosed with cancer.
Of like the times, yes.
He shot about 3 movies or more within that time frame.
So like, there's so much more to life. Even as a cancer patient, all you need to do is talk to a therapist. Make sure your depressive feelings aren't overpowering, you know, the things that you ought to do, like your work, your family, the precious moments that you should be having. Yes, so do not let the negative affect the positive. You can deal with the negative and eradicate it totally by seeing a therapist, by talking to somebody. Yes, that's very important.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. All right.
So, cancer is devastating, and it's a family disease, like I usually do tell people. And one individual could have it in the family, but the entire family also experiences certain level of distress, financial distress, grief, you know, anxiety, and everything. Yes. So that means that the general approach for it is multimodal. We look at, you know, the individual, the family structure, and everything put together. So it's important for us to prioritize mental health care for people that are going through that kind of struggle. And while we are taking care of their physical health, we're also looking out for their mental health, because they are interrelated. If physical health is growing, mental health will grow. If mental health is also going up, physical health will also leverage on that, and, you know, pick up from there. You understand? Wow. And then this life is still life. We don't know when we are going to die. Yes. So fact that you have a diagnosis does not mean that your life is truncated. You can still accomplish things with your life, yes, which are probably part of the things that we need to look at for when people have this kind of condition. So yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Juliet and Sola. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Finally, my final thoughts on this is, as they have already said, cancer is never the end of the world. It's just a diagnosis. And here's one thing that you must also take home. It is easy in the early stages of cancer to get treatment options than in the late stages. So it is very important to access care and seek care before it gets late. Don't allow the stigma of cancer or the diagnosis of cancer to, you know, prolong the time frame for you to seek care. So, and on that note, we've come to the end of today's show, brought to you by Better Care Limited, and you can definitely reach out to Better Care on their social media handles, even right from your home. You can reach out through your smartphone, through your laptop. You can discuss with a doctor. You can seek therapy. You can, you know, if you're going through something, right from the comfort of your home. And the links are all displayed on your screen. We will continue this conversation on social media, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. So make sure you connect with us on each of those platforms. Now, until next time, we are going to be having another episode. On behalf of me, your host, Dr. Wale Ogunlana, and Juliet Odumosu and Sola Ogunbiyi, we want to say a very big thank you to watching this episode to the very end. And make sure you stay safe and take care. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.